Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. EQA Nostalgia here with a Pantheon Rise of the Fallen Kickstarter update. As you can see, things are going very well for the project so far. We're already up to $178,000 of the $800,000 goal. And with 32 days left to go, that's quite a long time. It's over a month left to go. I do believe this will be funded. Now, I decided to fire up KickTrack, and you can see we are trending towards the goal, actually $14,000 above the goal. Now, obviously, this is just, it's just trending, it's projected numbers. Yeah, I'm pretty certain. I don't have to tell anybody that this thing does not predict the future. It could go either way, maybe people would back out or something like that. I highly doubt it. Or it could get, much better. Things could go well beyond the projected goal and go to, like, say 150% of the projected goal. So yeah, it's nice to take a look at things like that. Now, you may or may not have noticed that I have not backed the project yet, but I assure you I will be doing that before it's over. On a side note, they have actually added more tiers to the project, and they've also altered a few of them. I'm not certain about the details, but it does appear that they changed the initial price of entry into the game, as in it's no longer $45 to get a copy of the game, it's now $35, so that's pretty cool. I had actually voiced some concern about that in my previous video, thinking it was a little expensive, a little pricey. It's not too bad, but I think most people are used to it being a little bit cheaper to get a digital copy of the game. So yeah, I thought it was really nice that they did that, and hopefully it will increase the amount of people who pledge into the project. Another thing that's really nice to see is that they've been giving updates pretty much every single day since the Kickstarter launched. And that's just a really good thing to do. You want to keep your community engaged. You want to let them know that you are there and that you are listening to their concerns. We've already seen 3 Q&As from Brad, and I was actually very pleasantly surprised to see that he responded to my previous video. He's also taken the time to follow me and others like me on Twitter, so that's very nice to see. He's extremely engaged with the community right now. I think that demonstrates a high level of commitment, and it's very nice to see that. And I've actually seen a few Kickstarters where people have come out and they've kickstarted a project and they're not really invested in it all the way. Maybe they don't engage the community, or they don't offer any updates, maybe very few updates, and the project fails. It's nice to see that is not the case here. It's the complete and total opposite of that. Now, I had mentioned that they changed the tiers, some of the tiers, and made them a little bit easier to understand, but another thing that they did was they altered the stretch goals. And they altered them drastically from the way they were when they first put them up, so they definitely listened to the community feedback about that. And I have to say, I really like what I'm seeing here. I think it's much better than it was before. And one of the things that was really awesome to me was that they bumped Druid up to the first stretch goal. And that is my favorite class, my all-time favorite class from EverQuest Online Adventures. And that was my main. So that is the first stretch goal at $1 million. And just beneath that, at number 2 on the stretch goal list, is the Ranger at $1,250,000. And below that, we have the Bard at $1,500,000. And the Monk class at $1,750,000. I wholeheartedly agree with the way they did that. I think the classes should come before anything else because, let's face it, that's what we're going to be playing as. And right after the classes, they decided to put the races. So before, I believe it was just gnomes in their own little tier there, but now it's gnomes and halflings at the $2 million mark. And below that, we have reptilians at the $2,250,000 mark. And below that, we have Jinn and Ifriti at the $2,500,000 mark. And I'm really happy to see those races. I'm very interested in that because I was a big fan of the Magician class in EverQuest Online Adventures. And as many of you know, the pets that you got as a mage, some of the most powerful pets you got were Jinn and Ifriti pets. So it is definitely very interesting to see those as a playable race. Now, just below the playable races, we do have PvP at $3 million, and beneath that, we have crafting and harvesting at $3,500,000. So that's pretty cool. I'm not really a big fan of PvP, but I know there are people out there who are into PvP. I'm just kind of a classic MMORPG gamer. And back in those days, we didn't really have PvP. It was mostly all about PvE, unless, of course, you were playing Ultima Online. So if it were up to me, I would probably swap those positions. I would swap out the crafting and harvesting with the PvP, but, that's just my personal preference, and I can't speak for everybody. Okay, so moving right along, beneath that we have player housing at 4 million. I definitely want to see that get into the game. So I'm hoping this meets every one of the stretch goals because I want to see all of this stuff in the game. So player housing, yes please. I will take some of that, and I will take actually as much of that as you can give me. And I think that's just something that everybody loves. It's not like PvP where people are like, well, I do love it, I don't love it. I think that nobody's on the fence when it comes to player housing. Everybody agrees that it's cool to have your own place to decorate and put stuff in. Okay, so the final stretch goal is priced at $5 million, and that is for a UGC server. Now, correct me if I'm mistaken, I do believe that means user-generated content. So apparently users will be able to create their own servers and mod them and create their own content. And they also said that they will be watching those closely. And they also stated that they're always on the lookout for great talent. Now that could mean a couple of things. Maybe they would actually implement some of the stuff that you create into live servers, or maybe you could land yourself a job working for them. Okay, so that is it for the revised stretch goals. Now I couldn't help but notice that there are a few things missing, such as the new adventure area, UI mod functionality, armor and weapon sets. The mobile companion app and player farms are also no longer there. The additional continent has been removed, as well as player choice of a new race, sky content, and water content. Now, that's not to say we won't be seeing them in the future, but obviously they wanted to prioritize this list a little bit. They wanted to listen to the community, and I think it was a good move. I think it's very likely that we'll still get that sky content and the water content and stuff like that later on, maybe in DLC or expansion packs. Now, speaking of water content, Brad actually tweeted about a zone entirely made up of ships. He also posted some concept art of what that zone might look like. I think that's very cool, very unique. I don't think we've seen anything quite like that in MMORPGs. And so far I have to say the concept art for this game has been very impressive. I like what I've seen. Some very, very talented concept art. Now, on a side note, I just wanted to mention that the game will feature zones and will not be completely seamless. And when I say zones, I mean obviously you'll have to actually zone into each area loading it up, which is a little disappointing for me because I was hoping they'd be able to go for that EQOA approach. However, if the zones are large enough, you might not even really notice it that much. Okay, so there's basically just one more thing I wanted to mention. They did touch down on the lore a little bit. They've actually gone into a little bit of detail about that mysterious goddess that was behind Orenthal in that concept art that we've seen. Her name is Nexus, the lost goddess of Terminus. So if you guys are interested in reading up on a little bit of lore, make sure you check that out on the official Kickstarter page. Now, before I wrap this up, I want to suggest that you guys check out this website, pjpantheon.com. I am going to be posting a link in the description, and it's basically a place for people to go to talk about Project Pantheon. It's a really good fan site. I highly recommend it. They've got forums there, and people just chat about Project Pantheon. It's also a very good source to get information about the game. Alright guys, so that's about it. I hope you enjoyed this little update. I will be bringing out more of them in the future, so make sure you subscribe if you haven't already done that. I thank you all for watching, and I look forward to seeing you all in my next video.